tonight we are going to talk to you about the importance of preserving the night sky and what you can do today to be a dark sky friendly neighbor. So tonight's talk is going to go as follows. We're each going to give a quick brief introduction about ourselves, and then we're going to talk about why preserving the night sky is important and the effects of light pollution on the environment. We'll then talk about some of the effects of light pollution and how it affects what we can see in the night sky, and we'll conclude the talk telling you what you can do to be dark sky friendly. So, my name's Dante. I was born in Barrie, Ontario, and that's where I've lived most of my life. And I'm a student at McMaster University where I'm studying astrophysics and physics. Now, some of you may have seen my face before around here, and that's because it's my second year here for Bayside Astronomy. So I am very passionate about this program. I came here last year because I was interested in looking at the night sky. But within my first week of being here, I looked up at the night sky and saw the Milky Way clear as day, and it completely blew my mind because in Barrie, I couldn't really see the Milky Way, and it was so beautiful and so awe-inspiring that I wanted to make sure that we kept the skies of the Bruce Peninsula as dark as possible, and that's what Bayside Astronomy does. Oh, sorry, phone slideshow. Not bad, everyone. Would it be
Well, here, I'll just go because I have
Yeah.
one slide on my My name is Grace Jaklitsch. I'm from Kitchener, Ontario, obviously. I'm about to go into my second year at the University of Guelph as a history major and a studio art minor. I've got a special interest in ancient history, which works really well for memorizing all of the stories of the constellations. It's one of my favorite things to do as part of my job. I've been a visitor to the Bruce Peninsula for about 11 years. My family has a very small cottage up here, so naturally it's one of my favorite places in the world, which is why I was so excited to get this job and be able to start to contribute to the community up here. I've been raised as an environmentalist and attending climate rallies and joining eco teams and garbage pickups for as long as I can remember, so this was the natural next step in helping to preserve our environment. A bit about our program. So Bayside Astronomy was founded in 2012, and the goal of the program is to allow the public to see the wonders of the night sky while also educating them about the importance of dark sky preservation at no cost. Since its inception, the program has welcomed over 20,000 visitors at our programs, which run 5 nights weekly. On Fridays and Saturdays, we're at the Lions Head Marina. On Sundays, we're at St. Sam's. Mondays at Miller's Family Camp, and on Wednesdays, including tonight, we will be at Summerhouse Park. The picture we've got out here is of the pod, the observation deck at the marina, which was built specifically for astronomical purposes. And in the middle there is our 20-inch Dobsonian telescope, Herschel, who we use to let visitors see all of the wonders that the night sky possesses.
awesome? So we are losing our beautiful dark skies. Light emissions have increased by 49% between 1992 and 2012, and the amount of the Earth that is artificially lit up at night is increasing by 2% each and every year. Now, in the top right is a diagram showing a light pollution map. So the darker parts of the map and the blue/green parts correspond with low light pollution, whereas the red and white and kind of pinky parts correspond to high levels of light pollution. And in the top left image, we have late 1950s and the amount of light pollution. And in the bottom right, that is an estimated light pollution for the year 2025. And as you can see, the amount of light pollution is increasing at a very, very scary rate. And it's not just increasing in the cities where you would expect it. You can also see the more rural parts of North America are getting affected by light pollution. And the Bruce Peninsula, sadly, is also getting affected by this light pollution. This is another light pollution map of the Bruce Peninsula. The pin is on line set. And as you can see, the amount of light pollution is increasing along the entirety of the peninsula. And not only that, the amount of light pollution is also spreading out into the water. And I'll talk about why that's happening, but that's very, very bad for the environment.
Light pollution affects every single level of our environment. Trees that are by streetlights retain their leaves far past the fall season, which leads to snow and ice accumulation, and eventually to limb breakage and limb loss, which is obviously detrimental to those trees. Soy crops that are by well-lit roadways can experience 20 to 40% yield decreases due to delayed flowering and blooming. And in one study, 70% of the moths and insects in an area abandoned the plants that they were supposed to be pollinating in favor of artificial lighting. This significantly decreased the pollination that was happening in that area and also the types of pollen that were being picked up by these pollinators. 80% of North American birds are migratory, and of those 80%, 70% migrate at night. Birds are attracted to artificial lighting, like the ones that we find in buildings and urban centers, and this significantly contributes to the estimated 1 billion annual bird deaths in North America alone that are due to building collisions. Diurnal songbirds, diurnal meaning the opposite of nocturnal, have begun to sing at night up to 5 hours earlier than they should be due to lighting pollution. This is bad because it attracts predators, but also because it's altering their mating seasons, because these birds associate breeding times with longer days. In insects are also attracted to artificial lighting, and this disrupts their migratory patterns, their typical flight patterns. It increases their population, which leaves them susceptible to predators, can lead to direct heat deaths from exposure to lighting, and artificially increases the populations in an area to a point where it disrupts the natural balance of that area. In sea turtles are kind of the poster child for this issue. You might have heard about this one. Female sea turtles lay their eggs on subtropical and tropical beaches across the world, and when those eggs hatch, the baby sea turtles use the light of the moon and stars reflecting on the water to find their way to the ocean. However, recently, these animals have started to make their way inland instead because the artificial lighting from human settlements attracts them. This leaves them susceptible to dehydration, predators, and often means that they are hit by cars. Many sea turtles are already endangered, so this is a serious problem. Bats typically avoid well-lit areas and wait until dusk to emerge to hunt. If anybody ever has been stargazing, you'll know that right when the sun sets and just after is peak mosquito time, and so this is peak valuable hunting time for bats. However, if their roosts are artificially lit, they often delay emergence, meaning they are missing these peak hunting times. They can also abandon their homes if they are artificially lit, and even worse, they may wait inside indefinitely, becoming trapped as they wait for a sunset that will never come and eventually starve to death. Finally, studies show that rats, when exposed to artificial lighting, produce less melatonin and have an increased rate of tumor occurrence. This is also true for humans. Artificial lighting exposure while you're sleeping, like the kind that comes from living in an urban center, decreases melatonin production. Melatonin is a very important hormone for cell regeneration and repair. This means that less melatonin means more tumors. This is also why stuff like shift work is associated with increased rates of cancers like breast cancer, because you're sleeping during the day and thus you're producing less melatonin. So light pollution impacts every level of our environments, from the food that we eat and the trees that filter our oxygen to our own bodies on a cellular level, which is why it's so important that we keep our skies as dark as possible.
And light pollution also affects kind of our culture. You see, for many, many years, humans have looked up to the stars and the night sky for inspiration and to tell stories. I want to get a show of hands for who here has seen the Milky Way galaxy. See, that is amazing. If I asked that question in Mary, maybe 1 or 2 people would put their hand up. You see, it's estimated that 2/3 of the entire world population will not be able to see the Milky Way galaxy due to light pollution, which is a true shame. So the Bruce Peninsula is very special. We have some of the darkest skies out of anywhere in southern Ontario. And the way we measure how dark a sky is using this thing called the Bortle scale. Now, the lower numbers on a Bortle scale mean better and better conditions for a nice, clear, dark sky. So 1 is like the absolute best conditions, whereas an 8 or 9, you basically cannot see any stars in the night sky. The average of the Bruce Peninsula sits at a Bortle 2, which is absolutely beautiful and kind of mind-blowing with how much light pollution there is today. And some parts are Bortle 1. And Bortle 1 areas of the night sky are becoming more and more rare as the entire world is being artificially lit up at night. Now, if you just go an hour south of the Bruce Peninsula from, I guess, Lion's Head, you get to Owen Sound. And by the time you get to the outskirts of Owen Sound, there's already a ton of light pollution. You see, the outskirts of Owen Sound sit at a Bortle 4. And by the time you get to the more larger cities like Kitchener, Waterloo, or Barrie, on the outskirts, and I'm saying driving 30 plus minutes, so not being in the heart, 30 plus minute drive, you're still looking at a Bortle 7. You can see maybe a handful of stars at Bortle 7 or 8. I think in Barrie, the best I can see is maybe the Big Dipper. I can barely see the Little Dipper, and it's kind of a shame. So what can you do tonight to reduce the amount of light emissions you put into the night sky? Well, the most important thing is to get dark sky friendly outdoor lighting. Now, what is dark sky friendly outdoor lighting? Well, all it does is it makes sure that your lights are encapsulated and direct the light downwards. So, in this middle image here, we have some dark sky friendly lights and dark sky unfriendly lights. As you can see with the dark sky friendly lights, the entire light is encapsulated and it directs the light downwards where you want the light. Whereas the dark sky unfriendly lights, such as this kind of pot floodlight, once you turn that light on, it's going to direct the light down, outwards, and upwards into the night sky where you don't want the light to be going. And the absolute worst types of lights are these, these types of lantern style lights. Because instead of pointing the light down, these lantern style lights only point the light to the sides or up into the night sky, which is not good. So we have 5 principles for responsible outdoor lighting, and if you follow these, you will be a dark sky friendly person, and you can tell your neighbors about them so they can be dark sky friendly neighbors. The first of which being, all lights should have a clear purpose. So instead of using a light to light up an area, could you use something like reflective tape to do the same job? The second one is, light should be directed downwards. You see, it's estimated that 99% of outdoor light is wasted light that either, as I said, goes off to the sides or up into the night sky. And from living in university, I've found out electricity bills are really expensive. So if you're paying for light, you want to use all the light you're paying for and you want it pointing down. The third one is, light should be no brighter than necessary. So when you're looking to buy your next light, make sure that you're getting a wattage that lights up only the area you need lit up instead of lighting up your entire backyard. The fourth thing is, lights should only be used when necessary. So instead of having your outdoor lights on all the time, think about setting them up on a motion sensor, on a timer, or even better yet, just turn them off when you go to bed at night. And the very last thing you can do to be responsible with your outdoor lighting is to get warmer colored lights. So when I say warmer colored lights, I mean look for the lights that say warm or 3000 Kelvin versus the lights that say blue or I think 6000 Kelvin. You see, what warmer colored lights do that are in the more redder hue is they scatter off in our atmosphere much less. So when blue light goes up into our atmosphere, it scatters really, really far. And that's what you can see when you're seeing that light pollution going all the way over the water. That's most likely due to an excess of blue light pollution. Whereas when redder lights go up into the atmosphere, they scatter much less, leading to less light pollution. So, in conclusion, when you get home, look at your lights, see if they're pointing up into the night sky, and see if your light bulbs are encapsulated in a dark sky friendly light fixture. If they are not, you might be in luck. You see, the Peninsula Biosphere Association actually gives rebates on dark sky friendly light fixtures. We will cover half the price of your light fixtures if you want to get dark sky friendly light fixtures. So if you go home and you see you do not have dark sky compliant light fixtures, you can give us a call at 416-837-2959 and we'll come to your house, look at your lights, put some dark sky friendly light fixtures on, save the environment, you save 50%. It's an awesome win-win. And the most important thing, I could go on and on about how beautiful the night sky is, but I feel like the best thing you can do is to actually see the beauties of the night sky in person. So I highly recommend everyone come to one of our Bayside Astronomy events and see the wonders of the night sky yourself. We run programs Mondays at Miller's Family Camp, Wednesdays at Summer House Park, Fridays and Saturdays at Lions Head Marina, and Sundays up at Singing Sands. If you come down to one of our shows, we will show you the wonders of the night sky. You've all seen the Milky Way, but there's so much more to the night sky that you can't see with light pollution. And it's really awesome when you come to one of our events because it is so awesome just to see the wonders of the night sky. And yeah, we just want to thank you for letting us present and to let us tell you about the importance of the dark skies. Thank you so much.
So we know what we can do, like in my home, what I can do, what type of lighting I do, we can talk to our neighbors and stuff. But do we have any ways that we can work on some of the bigger companies do we have any resources that we can go and email or any suggestions there?
Not, sadly, no.
Okay.
One of our, I don't want to say our biggest enemies, but I don't know if anyone drives up Highway 6, the Rona, with the massive neon signs. We've talked to them so many times and just asked them to either turn their light off, or even we suggested that they build a little roof on top of the sign because it would look cute, because we're up in like cottage areas, so it would look cute. And they basically said, we're not going to. So when it comes to the companies, if there's a light that you think might be an issue, you could email us at the Peninsula Biosphere Association. There was a light in Lions Head by the water treatment facility that was really, really bright. And we actually ended up getting in contact with them and getting a dark sky friendly light fixture put on it. So those things can happen, but sometimes the people aren't compliant and sometimes they are. So the best you can do is, as I said, either send us an email or ask the company if they know that the Bruce Peninsula is a dark sky friendly community.
So the Bethel Church has a blue light that is very, very bright. How do you get them to change it from a blue light to something else? I mean, I've talked to somebody there and they have decreased the brightness of it and changed the timing of it.
That's a good question.
And also to the municipality lights.
Would the Dark Sky Association provide rebates just for the covers or to replace a bulb?
I think it's just for the covers, but I think a good way for the lights to be done, such as the one at the Bethel Church, is kind of grandfathering it in. So when that light eventually goes out and dies.
This is a sign.
Oh, is it a sign?
Yeah.
Is it the one just kind of when you're going?
The Ferndale.
Yeah.
If you go there, like, it's not so bad this time of year, but in the winter time,
Is it
like
quite
5
bright?
o'clock, it's blinding.
I would have to talk to our boss Mike about that, because I feel like if there's a bright light in Lions Head, he would have at least politely asked them to change it. There's also the light by the hospital, or the sign by the hospital, that is like blindingly bright at night. So the hospital said they can't do anything because they're trying to have every single sign look the same. Kind of gave a hand wavy excuse, but I'll talk to Mike about that because maybe we can get that light a little bit dimmer.
Just to piggyback on that question, I'm curious, with the rebate, is it only eligible for, I guess, like households, or would commercial businesses and things be eligible as well? Does it apply for both?
It does apply for both. Actually, we, at Miller's Family Camp, we recently covered half the price of their dark sky friendly light fixtures. So
Did we get eight in there?
I think we got, 8 or maybe 6 or 8
Oh, that's awesome.
light fixtures were put in the Miller's Family Camp, and we covered the price for half of them.
We've also been working like around the community. I know that by the Lions Head Marina, especially because it's right beside where we do our shows, we're working on getting them a light fixture. I think they have it and they're just starting to install it now. But we definitely, for as many signs and lights that annoy us, we have definitely conquered quite a few, especially with the hard efforts of our boss, Mike Workington. He's worked very hard to get as many dark sky friendly lights as he can around Lions Head.
I wonder with some of these businesses and that are resistant to that, if like a letter writing campaign would be, you know, if we all send a letter, even if it's a form letter, and put it right in their mailbox. If they get a couple hundred of those, maybe,
Yeah.
you know, might be an interesting route to take, you know.
That might be a good idea, especially for Rona, because that light is so brutal. And it's almost a distraction when you're driving at night because it like really draws your attention, but almost too
I
much.
suppose that's their
Yeah, I guess there's that's their point, but yeah.
not so safe,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. I guess a comment / question. It makes me think of like taking it to the next level of looking at our supply stores and see if they could no longer sell certain lights that would obviously cause these implications, and then reducing even just the availability of these certain products. It makes me think that might be another way to work around the issue, where it's, I know we can get everything online nowadays, and maybe a lot of people do that, but myself, I go into a store still and get things, and if I couldn't get those things, I mean, I would naturally pick the more
Yeah.
night-friendly option, but it just makes me think about the supply, and if we could maybe take it down to the next level, even of, you know, limiting those options for people so they kind of have to choose the better option, you know?
Yeah. I did look at that last year at all the home hardwares. The good news is, I think the split was 65% to 35% dark sky friendly lights versus non-dark sky friendly lights, which is a good thing. I do wonder if, like, we just went to each of the places and said, hey, do you know that we're a dark sky community, we care about our dark skies, if they would maybe remove, especially the worst types of light fixtures are the ones that I said are the lantern styles. If they could just get rid of those, it would probably make such a great impact.
Yeah. And I mean, as a child who grew up reading, I don't know if everyone's read the Chronicles of Narnia, I can very much appreciate the lantern style lighting, but that's why here there are alternatives that look similar but are dark sky friendly, right? So you're right, availability is a really important topic, which is also why we're doing these presentations, because it allows people to know that we can help supply the dark sky friendly shields and stuff that might end up being very useful.
More to Heather's point, when I first moved up here full-time 13 years ago, I got a notice, and I'm pretty sure it was from the municipality, talking about the fact that this was a dark sky community. But is it possible that that could be done annually to everybody, not just to a new person moving into the, and also to talk about your program, because tonight's the first that I knew that you could get a rebate for getting a proper light fixture.
That's a good question.
thought.
We should talk to Mike about that, because that would be a really good thing, especially for not so much the locals, but it seems like a lot of people are doing Airbnbs, and a lot of new people are coming up to the Bruce Peninsula, and they don't know that we're a dark sky community. And it's something very important to all of us, because as I said, we have Bortle 2 night skies, which is extremely, extremely rare. I cannot stress that enough. And again, it is something very important, so maybe that is a good
Well, and
idea.
if it goes out with the tax
The
bill.
newsletter,
Yeah.
yes.
No, with
Yeah.
the tax bill, then it
Yeah.
goes to the owners. They're the
Yeah.
ones
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
own the light fixtures, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Dante's right, we're a growing area, so I think a lot of newcomers probably, you're right, if they weren't to receive a letter like that, probably
Wouldn't know.
be aware. Even, we were on a radio segment recently, and the host said, you know, our program is more known by tourists than the locals, so as more people move up here, you're right, it would be very good to get the news out.
Mhm.
One other idea that I think would be cool, sorry, all these ideas are firing now, but it would be almost quite neat if we could put a sign somewhere along Highway 6 saying entering a dark sky or something or other, just to kind of
Yeah.
to
Good
like,
idea.
catch attention of
That'd be-
people coming through.
That's an amazing idea.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write
Yeah,
that
yeah.
down.
Start writing them down.
Yeah, because we already,
And then it just gets people.
We're recording this, so. it's
Yeah.
not-
we've got a bunch of, point of interest signs, like the 45th parallel and stuff
Yeah.
that people read, so you're right, that would definitely, I think that's a very good idea.
We may have to fundraise for something like that perhaps, but,
Yes.
you know, but
Yeah, well, and many townships have, like, just on their, like township sign, have like, you know, a slogan or something, not that this would be the slogan, but definitely would not hurt to have
be
something.
along that lines for sure, that's a great idea.
That is like an amazing idea, yeah. Thank you. Big master. Awesome.
All right.
Oh,
If you drive along various roads at night and see houses with really bright lights, is it possible to leave a little note or something?
honestly, yes. We're actually working on brochures that we're gonna kind of distribute everywhere, maybe at the grocery store that you can pick up. And if you have a neighbor who's not being dark sky compliant, you could just put it in their mailbox, be anonymous, and then they could read through the little brochure and see what they can do to be more dark sky
Our-
compliant.
Last presentation with the Lions Club, actually, one of the attendees is a realtor, so he actually just asked Dante to send him the pamphlets that we currently have set up, and he's going to print them out and give them to his clients. So that is definitely something that would be possible. But anonymous is probably better as far as neighbors go.
Yeah.
You know, although I'm sure that Mike has utilized that tactic, so.
Oh, yes, I'm sure he has.
We actually have a bylaw, like the Northern Bruce has a bylaw,
Yeah.
and you can report your neighbors, yes. It's a dark sky community bylaw. And you can report about lighting. I had a friend in a McMansion Airbnb went up that sleeps 15. And then one weekend they went up and they had lit it up like Vegas on the outside. And she was just sick. And she's like, Lisa, I can't even sleep because it's coming in my window. And I talked to the owner and they don't care. And I said, I'm pretty sure you can report that.
Another thing that anonymity is good for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, well, but we are the Northern Bruce Peninsula, so I don't know how anonymous
Yeah.
actually is, because, you know, that's one thing, but if it's a neighbor that lives here, they might know the
Yeah.
bylaw, just saying.
Well,
But yeah, you can report it, and
I
they
did not
do
know that.
take, yeah, the next day they were on that.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really, it goes to show like it's not just a bit like an aesthetics thing, like it can really impact the quality of your sleep, the quality of our crops, the quality of our wildlife, fireflies. I've heard from many, many people, especially when we're out doing our talks, about how there used to be many more fireflies when they were kids. That is in part due to light pollution. Pesticides has been a big issue, but artificial lighting can actually blind the male fireflies from seeing responding female fireflies because they have no wings, they hide in the grass. And it means that they miss out on mating. So it really, really does impact like every aspect of our environment and our biosphere. Thanks for the questions, guys.
Yes.
Well, and failing, shielded lighting is not always the best answer. I think in a lot of cases, motion sensing lighting, where we live, if I take the dogs out at night, I want the air because we have trees all around us. And
That's true.
I do want the bright lights out while I'm out with the dogs. When I bring them in, they go off in 5 minutes, I think, and that's it.
Yeah.
So failing being able to shield all your lights, at least motion sense them, so.
Exactly.
That's a very good point.
And yeah, as I said, that's one of our points of the 5 steps. Motion sensors or timers are really, really helpful. And I've had a few people say that they live on like not so busy roads, and they wish that the street lamps would also be on motion sensors because they're like on all
That's a good
night.
idea.
Yeah.
I don't know.
How possible it is?
I don't know
but-
how possible it is, but for some of the less busy roads, it would be nice because
Well, we were really lucky when we moved up. The ladies auxiliary used to have street lights down our road, but they decided not to have them anymore because they couldn't afford it, so we're done now.
Yeah, it's all about minimization. Like, there's always going to be need for artificial lighting. The headlamps on your car, for example, that's not something that we can get rid of. But there are many, many lights that are not absolutely necessary, and that's what we're going for. Thanks so much for listening, guys. This is a great discussion.
yes, thank you guys so much.
All right,
Awesome.
so hopefully we'll see everybody out Saturday morning, and we will get to you as soon as we got everything worked out for the